The observation deck of Galactic Academy Station hummed with the usual cacophony of 50 different species attempting to coexist in one classroom. Elsa Martinez sat near the back, her human frame dwarfed by the towering Crylaxians and the gelatinous mass of a Quelori student. Across the aisle, Harry Chen was furiously scribbling notes on his datapad, completely absorbed in Professor Zalther's lecture on multidimensional warfare theory. "Human cadets," the professor's translator crackled, its 4 eyes rotating independently to fix on Elsa and Harry. "Your species has only recently joined the Galactic Defense Initiative. Perhaps you can explain why Earth took 3 centuries longer than the galactic average to develop faster-than-light travel." Before either could respond, the station's alarm system erupted in a deafening wail. Red emergency lighting bathed the classroom as the transparent observation wall revealed something that made even the battle-hardened Crylaxians recoil. A swarm. Not just any swarm. The Velkari hive, humanity's first and most devastating encounter with hostile alien intelligence. Thousands of biomechanical fighters, each the size of a transport shuttle, descended upon the station like a plague of locusts constructed from nightmares and carbon fiber. "All students to evacuation pods," Professor Zalther commanded, tentacles gesturing wildly. "This is not a drill." The classroom dissolved into chaos. Students of every species scrambled toward the exits, their various appendages, pseudopods and locomotion systems creating a nightmarish traffic jam. Harry grabbed Elsa's arm. "The pods won't work," he said, his voice tight with controlled fear. "Look at the formation. They're using a Kowalski cage pattern. Any escape vector will fly directly into their firing solution." Elsa's eyes narrowed as she processed the tactical display on the wall. Harry was right. The Velkari weren't attacking randomly. They were herding the station's population into predetermined kill zones. It was textbook predator behavior, scaled up to stellar warfare. "Everyone stop." Elsa's voice cut through the panic with unexpected authority. "The evacuation pods are death traps." A Crylaxian warrior caste student, easily 3 meters tall and covered in ceremonial battle scars, turned its massive head toward her. "And what would a human know of Velkari tactics? Your species has fought them exactly once and lost 70% of your fleet." "Exactly," Elsa said, her mind racing through possibilities. "Which means we learned what doesn't work. Harry, access the station's network. I need control of the environmental systems, the cargo bay magnetic clamps, and the waste disposal vectoring thrusters." Professor Zalther's eyes all focused on her simultaneously. "Those systems are entirely unrelated. What tactical purpose could they possibly serve?" "Human purposes," Elsa replied, already moving to the classroom's main terminal. Her fingers flew across the holographic interface, pulling up schematics that she'd memorized during her first week aboard the station, not for tactical reasons, but because her human curiosity demanded she understand how everything worked. The Velkari breached the station's outer hull. The deck shuddered beneath their feet as atmosphere began venting from the lower decks. They had minutes, maybe less. Harry understood first. He always did. "You're going to use the station itself as a weapon." "Not as a weapon," Elsa corrected, rerouting power conduits with practiced efficiency. "As a lure, a shield, and a trap. The Velkari think in terms of hive efficiency. They calculate cost-benefit ratios at quantum speeds. We're going to give them calculations they can't resist and costs they can't predict." She opened a channel to the remaining automated systems. "Computer, initiate waste disposal protocol Gamma 7. Route all organic waste to external vectoring thrusters. Maximum dispersal pattern." The Quelori student burbled in confusion. "You're weaponizing our sewage." "I'm creating a sensor-blocking cloud," Elsa explained, her hands never stopping their dance across the controls. Velkari biomechanical systems rely on quantum-entangled navigation. Organic compounds at high dispersal create quantum decoherence. It won't stop them, but it'll blind them for 37 seconds. Harry, I need you to calculate the exact moment to vent the cloud based on their approach vector. On it, Harry said, his datapad now linked to the station's sensors. But 37 seconds isn't enough time to evacuate. We're not evacuating, Elsa said. We're counterattacking. The classroom fell silent except for the groaning of stressed metal and the distant shriek of Velkari cutting through the station's infrastructure. Professor Zalther approached cautiously. Cadet Martinez, the Galactic Defense Initiative has fought the Velkari for 2 centuries. Every major species has thrown their best tactical minds at this problem. What makes you think a human student can succeed where they have failed? Elsa pulled up a new interface, the cargo bay controls. Because every major species thinks like a major species. You all developed FTL within standard deviation timelines. You all encountered similar technological hurdles. You all evolved in environments that favored similar cognitive approaches. The Velkari evolved to counter those approaches. She highlighted a section of the cargo bay. But humans took 3 centuries longer than average to develop FTL. Do you know why? A Krylaxian student, the one who challenged her earlier, leaned in despite itself. Why? Because we kept killing each other with the intermediate technologies, Harry answered, understanding flooding his expression. We weaponized everything. We turned communication satellites into kinetic impactors. We turned cargo containers into missile platforms. We turned waste disposal into chemical warfare. We are a stupidly, dangerously creative species, Elsa said, and we think sideways because our entire history forced us to. Now everyone to the cargo bay. Move. This time they listened. The cargo bay was a massive chamber designed for loading and unloading supplies from transport ships. Elsa directed students to specific positions, turning the space into a makeshift command center. She pulled up the magnetic clamp controls, systems designed to hold cargo containers in place during transport. The Velkari will breach this bay in 90 seconds, Harry announced, eyes locked on his calculations. They're cutting through the armored sections because they expect us to hide in the reinforced core. Let them come, Elsa said. She opened a comm channel to the environmental systems. Depressurizing cargo bay in 60 seconds. Everyone, secure your emergency suits. The students scrambled to comply, their various species suits creating a bizarre patchwork of protective equipment. Elsa's human suit was almost laughably primitive compared to the Krylaxian combat armor or the Quellori's self-sustaining gel matrix. 30 seconds to waste dispersal, Harry called out. Elsa's hands hovered over the magnetic clamp controls. The cargo bay held 200 standardized containers, each massing 50 metric tons. In normal operation, the clamps held them stationary, but she'd rerouted the power systems, overcharging the magnetic fields by a factor of 12. Dispersal in 3, 2, 1, mark. The station shuddered as thousands of cubic meters of organic waste erupted from the vectoring thrusters, creating a massive cloud of quantum decoherent material around the station's vulnerable sections. The Velkari swarm's perfect formation immediately degraded as their navigation systems struggled to compensate. They're blind, a student whispered in awe. And angry, Elsa replied. Harry, time to breach. 20 seconds. They're converging on the cargo bay like you predicted. Of course they are, Elsa said. It's the logical weak point now. Computer, depressurize cargo bay, release magnetic clamps on my mark. The bay doors cracked open, and atmosphere rushed out in a howling scream. Through the widening gap, Elsa could see them, hundreds of Velkari fighters, their biomechanical forms glinting in the starlight, their weapons already charging for the kill. Mark. 200 cargo containers, each overcharged with magnetic repulsion fields, shot out of the bay like the galaxy's largest shotgun blast. The containers weren't aimed. They didn't need to be. The Velkhari were packed so densely in their attack formation that the containers tore through their ranks like bowling balls through tissue paper. But Elsa wasn't done. Computer reverse magnetic polarity, maximum attraction now. The containers, still charged, suddenly became powerful electromagnets. Velkhari fighters, their biomechanical systems heavily reliant on metallic components, were yanked off course, colliding with each other, with the containers, with the debris field that the initial impact had created. In 30 seconds, the Velkhari lost 2/3 of their attack force to a waste disposal system, cargo containers, and magnetic clamps, none of which were weapons. "Harry, where's the rest of the swarm?" Elsa demanded. "Retreating," he said, disbelief evident in his voice. They're actually retreating. The Velkhari are performing cost-benefit analysis, and we just made attacking us infinitely expensive." Professor Zalther approached Elsa slowly, all 4 eyes wide. In 200 years of conflict, no one has ever successfully repelled a Velkhari swarm with 0 casualties. How did you know this would work? Elsa slumped against a bulkhead, adrenaline finally giving way to exhaustion. "I didn't. Not for certain. But humans have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. Every species here had the technological capacity to do what I did, but you all thought in terms of weapons, tactics, proper military doctrine." She gestured at the debris field visible through the bay doors. "Humans learned to fight wars with whatever we had available because we spent most of our history too primitive to have proper weapons. We turned plowshares into swords, then swords back into plowshares, then plowshares into projectile weapons. We don't think about what something is designed to do. We think about what it could do in the worst possible scenario." A Krylaxian student, the same one who challenged her earlier, approached and performed what Elsa had learned was a gesture of profound respect. "The Velkhari calculate warfare like a mathematical equation. You introduced variables they never considered possible." "That's humanity's tactical advantage," Harry added, finally looking up from his datapad. "We're the galaxy's chaos factor. We don't fight fair because fair is a luxury we could never afford." As rescue ships arrived and damage control teams swept through the station, Elsa found herself surrounded by students from a dozen species, all demanding to know more about human tactical thinking. Professor Zalther stood at the edge of the group, manipulating a holographic display. "Cadet Martinez," the professor said, "I am submitting a recommendation to Galactic Defense Command. Your improvised tactics should be studied, codified, and integrated into GDI training protocols." Elsa shook her head. "Respectfully, Professor, you can't codify this. The moment you turn it into a protocol, it stops being effective. Human tactics work because we're making it up as we go, responding to what's in front of us rather than what the manual says should be there." "Then what do you suggest?" Zalther asked. Elsa looked at Harry, who grinned. "I suggest," she said, "that the Galactic Defense Initiative starts recruiting more humans, not because we're stronger or smarter or more advanced, but because when the universe doesn't play fair, you need someone who knows how to cheat." The observation deck, patched and repressurized, showed a debris field where the Velkhari swarm had been. Among the wreckage floated cargo containers, their magnetic fields finally depleted, drifting like monuments to humanity's particular brand of tactical insanity. And somewhere in the cold mathematics of the Velkhari hive mind, a new variable had been entered. Humans could not be calculated. They could only be avoided.